Good morning and welcome. It is a Tuesday edition of the Neal Larson Show. If you'd like to reach me, you can send me a text to 208-542-1079. On occasion, I stumble across something that really lights up the audience. And this morning, when I just floated the idea, because I've seen this video the last couple of days of these, I don't like calling names, but they're morons, these idiots that get in front of cars that are just trying to get from point A to point B, and they think, I will stick it to Donald Trump if I get in front of this car. I don't know where that logic comes from, and I'm not sure where they're finding it in their brains that God gave them. But they, for some reason, think they're going to stick it to Donald Trump because they put their own physical safety in danger by stepping in front of a moving car. Anyway, so I had this idea. I'm like, okay, well, if you're the driver, you face kind of a conundrum because you don't want to run over somebody and hurt someone, damage your car, whatever the case may be, and just the idea of the thump. And maybe that's what we should call it. If we want to reduce the name of running over a protester to one term, we could call it the thump. But I don't really like that either because I'm not trying to maybe I'm trying to make light of this a little bit. But these people are foolish. Darwinianism just plays into this kind of thing very much so. So you had Ron DeSantis last week saying, look, guess what, protesters? If you have drivers who feel like their lives are in danger, they can plow right through you. And here's how I look at it. And I want to be very upfront about this and why I think we need to really have a nuanced view of the thump. I think that you're actually going to reduce injury, reduce danger, reduce damage if you take the DeSantis approach and say, look, drivers, if they feel threatened, they can plow through you. You just can't get in front of their car and start doing intimidating things. This happens a few times. They will stop. Most people will stop doing this. So, and you have these people screaming and yelling. So we're going to ask you, long story short, I've got other things I've got to get to. We're going to ask you if it's okay to run over protesters that get in the way of your car and try to impede your effort. And I wanted to add one more layer to this because I do think that Governor DeSantis could go a step further. I think the protesters getting run over should also be liable for any damages or repairs that your car may need, like a new alignment or a broken grill or a bumper or a quarter panel. I think that should be added to this, and then that's even more of a disincentive for them to get in front of your car. So we'll ask you about that. I look forward to it. We have an ominous situation happening in the Middle East. Last night, you're probably like I am, when you scroll through social media and you see something that makes your jaw drop a little bit, you think, okay, is this really true? Well, it turned out to be really true. Donald Trump sent out on Truth Social a notice for the residents of Tehran to evacuate, that the time for negotiating had come to an end and that it was time for them to evacuate. Iran clearly is not going to be compliant, and whatever was going to happen, Israel was going to be given the green light to make whatever they need to do for their self-defense happen. Now, I don't like this at all. It just has World War III vibes written all over it. And I want a world that is peaceful. I want a world that is a safe world for my children and grandchildren. And I don't beat the drums of war. But because I would much rather have Israel, with the U.S. supporting them, decimate Iran's nuclear program, I would much rather have that than to have Iran have a nuclear program and then wield that with their oft-stated intentions to annihilate Israel. And probably that extends to the entire modern Western world, our allies in the region, because they're part of the great Satan. You were all infidels to these people. And when they're willing to use nuclear power nuclear capability, and they have nuclear capability, it's an incredibly dangerous world. But it has divided conservatives, and it's even divided Trump supporters. Perhaps one of the most notable is Tucker Carlson. He does not like that the sabers are being rattled right now by Israel and by the United States. He was on with Steve Bannon. He is saying that this could effectively end the Trump presidency.
I actually really love Trump.
Play this here.
I actually really love Trump. I think he's a deeply humane, kind person. And I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire, obviously. Other nations would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it. And so that's why I'm saying this.
What do you mean by that? That's coming from you. That's
you get. Look, I knew Bush. I knew George W. Bush. We had, family connections to Bush. I knew Bush personally. I still see Bush sometimes, and of course, he hates me, and he does because I criticized him on Iraq. And
okay, so basically, the Iraq War, that Iran, if this goes through and this happens, that it will become Donald Trump's Iraq, what Iraq was to the Bush administration. Do I agree with that? I think there's a risk of that, but I also think that doesn't mean you don't do it either. Donald Trump is exactly right. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They can't. If they do, the world is much more dangerous. It is more dangerous it changes everything if they're allowed to get a nuclear weapon. Now, you have liberals and some conservatives even, which is really strange to me, that have about 3 brain cells, and they say, well, if the U.S. can have a nuclear weapon, why can't other countries? If Britain can have a nuclear weapon, why can't other countries? Well, because if I have to answer that question, I don't even know if it's worth answering that question. But I'll indulge, because Iran is not, they are repeatedly calling for the annihilation of an entire country and an entire group of people. That's why. They're not responsible people. And quite frankly, they're not rational people either. China has nukes. Russia has nukes. They aren't good regimes. But they're rational. They want their country to continue. That is not clear with the Iran. They're willing, because they are such religious, radical fanatics. They're willing to die. They're willing to be obliterated. Those are the scariest people of all, the ones that have really nothing to lose, seemingly. The thing that protects us with China, who I think would have no problem nuking the United States, is that we would nuke them back, and far worse than they would nuke us. Russia, probably the same way. They'd probably be willing to obliterate our big cities, but they don't because of MAD. You've heard of mutually assured destruction. Mutually assured destruction is one of the most powerful strategic tools that we have in the world, I would say, for the United States, but it works in every direction. MAD doesn't really work with countries like Iran, because what happens if they die? They get to go to the next realm and have 77 beautiful virgins. Like, that's what they believe. So they're like, so what? I'll go on to my virgins if you destroy me. They don't care about their people. They oppress their people. So that's the reason why, for the good of the planet and the globe and humanity, we can't let Iran get a nuclear weapon. And yet I probably would not spend, if I had a lib call the show and try to make the case, or even a weird, wacky, far-right libertarian call the show. Sometimes the far-right, wacky libertarians make the same arguments as the far-left wackos. But they would say, well, we don't have the right to intervene, and we don't have to interfere, and we just need to worry about our country. Okay, I get that. And I will tell you, I'm doing it because I am worried about our country. That's why I take the position that I do. And if we can have a nuclear weapon, then they can have a nuclear weapon, because that's only fair. Well, there's not really a fair. If they were responsible, if they loved freedom, if they loved peace. I mean, we don't really like any country gaining nuclear capability because it makes the globe more complicated. But like we went through this with India and Pakistan a few years ago. They may not live like we do. They may believe differently than we do. They're not willing to be obliterated. So you can usually tell which countries want nuclear capability for defensive purposes and which countries want it for offensive purposes. Iran clearly wants it for offensive purposes. They've wanted to obliterate Israel for forever. So this is why they can't have a nuclear weapon. And I think it is the moral obligation of the entire globe to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon. That doesn't mean I'm all in on World War III. I think there's limited ways to do this. And that is what I think Donald Trump wants to do. I don't think he wants to send our troops in. I don't think he wants to get America involved in a war beyond just providing support, weaponry, logistics, whatever Israel needs to get this job done. Then that's what will happen. But not everybody agrees with that. I think that you do have these libertarians that think it's just good enough to have borders and a strong military and keep everything here in the United States and don't really engage with other nations. And to me, that's not going to work. There are no real libertarian utopias out there. Nations that have been built into greatness upon the shoulders of libertarianism. It's great for an individual ethic, and you can have that, but you don't build great societies on libertarianism. I know, I'm going to catch flack for that. I can already hear it coming. I bet you I haven't even looked at my text line for a few minutes. I bet you I got some hate right now. You cannot be an isolationist and keep your country. It just is more complicated than that. But don't extend me saying that to thinking we should be involved in everything everywhere. I don't believe that. So, all right, it's 8:21 on News Talk 107.9. We are going to do a flash poll on that, though. Are you supportive of the U.S. being involved with, I wouldn't say, it's not aggression, it's reaction, it's defensive against Iran? And what we'll do is, rather than a yes-no, rather than a closed-ended question, we'll ask you an open-ended, what should our involvement be with this situation with Iran? So this American call for Tehran to evacuate, I think there may be a few days, 2, 3, 4 days given for as many innocents to get out of Tehran as possible. And I have no idea. I have no inside information. I got nothing, but I would imagine over the next 3 to 4 days, we'll see the evacuation happen, and then we will see a massive, thundering, overwhelming barrage of bombing of Iran's infrastructure, their government infrastructure, their nuclear and scientific infrastructure. And hopefully we can limit the number of innocent people who are going to die with this. But I believe that's probably what we're going to see over the next week or two. That's my hunch. Also, I am not a guy that likes to rub it in, but we had the No Kings protest over the weekend. And I think somebody counted up, and now they added up all the attendees at each estimated attendees, and each one was the highest possible estimate that they could get, and something like 23,000 people across the state attended the No Kings rally. I hate to break it to you, but over 600,000 people in Idaho voted for Donald Trump. So you may have gotten 23,000. It's probably more like 20,000. Or even less than that. And it wasn't even, it was like very, very, very little compared to the numbers of Trump supporters in Idaho. And even though you said no kings, you think Donald Trump's going to be the king, Donald Trump is still your president. We'll help you cry in your kombucha today. Like, I hope you're all okay. But we've got to take a break. We'll come back. It's 8:24. On News Talk 1079. Got another segment here. In about 10 minutes, we'll talk with Dakota Bates. He is the brand new member of the Pocatello City Council. And we know Pocatello's had, well, some challenges lately, but I think there's also some great opportunities and promise ahead for the Gate City. And we'll talk with Dakota Bates about that. Coming up right here on News Talk 1079.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, it's Brad from Now 105.1 and QP99. I'm in the studio here. I love our studios, by the way. Ranger Rick back there. There's Neal and Julie doing their thing. Hey, when you want to advertise on the radio, what do? You call the radio station, right? But what do you do when you want to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and Hulu and Disney Plus and Peacock and the other TV streaming services? You can kind of click around on them and make guesses or read books or take courses online on how to do that advertising. Or you could call us at the radio station. At Sandhill Media, we take care of your local radio and digital marketing. So reach out to us at sandhillmediagroup.com and we'll make sure that your message gets heard and seen wherever your customers are.
What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
All right, it's 8:29 now on News Talk 1079. So Trump is playing, I used to call it with my kids, the game of uncertainty, where I would hold up a ball, like a squishy ball, and my kids would be sitting around the room, and I would hold it and act like I'm about to throw it to, and they never knew who Dad was going to throw the ball at. And I called it, we're going to play the game of uncertainty, and all the kids would kind of squeal, no, Dad, no. And I think right now Donald Trump is playing the game of uncertainty with Israel because he has said on social media and verbally, they passed the deadline. There's not a chance here. It's over. And now we got to do what we got to do, meaning Israel. And yet in that comment, he said they better start talking really soon.
It's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war. And they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And so he's saying in some contexts it's too late. And now he's saying they should talk before it's too late. So I do think, and this is Trump, he's so good at this. His negotiating, and people look at it like, oh, he's flip-flopping. No, he's not. If that's what you reduce this down to, you don't understand Donald Trump. He's putting out on social media, everyone should evacuate Tehran. They bombed the TV station, so Iran cannot tell its people, everything's fine, stay in Tehran, we've got it under control, and Americans are horrible, and Israel's terrible, they're the great Satan, whatever propaganda they put out. No, they want everyone to stay in Tehran because they know we'll be less likely, and when I say we, I don't mean the United States proper, I mean the good guys, I mean Israel, I mean they don't want Israel to bomb And if Israel does bomb, they want as many civilian casualties as possible so they can put that out to the entire world. Look how horrible the U.S. is. Look how horrible Israel is. Iran absolutely, without a doubt, wants there to be as many innocent casualties as possible, which is why they don't want the evacuations to happen. So they bomb the TV station. Elon Musk comes along and says, hey, you got Starlink, you can use it for free. And so he's giving internet for free to Iran, or not Iran, but the people of Iran. And there's not much that the regime can do about that. And you don't have to have everybody with the internet. You only need a small slice of the population, and then the word's going to spread. There'll be a lot of communication. So I think we are doing everything we can, and the decent thing is to evacuate as many people as possible. But what it also means is that we will the Iranian regime surrender? Probably not. But we may extract as much as possible from them in this environment than we would otherwise. And so this is Trump playing chess, and it's reaching a pretty tense moment right now. And I hope there's not a bombing. I would love it if the Iranian regime would just surrender, do the white flag. They probably will not do that. And someone in the text pointed out there was no promise that the 72 virgins were going to be beautiful. That's true. That's true. Somebody else said, watch their 72 virgins be the blue-haired, screaming, obese harpies. All right, we'll be back after this. 8:33 on News Talk 107.9. When we return, Dakota Bates is going to join us. We'll shift gears. We're going to talk about Pocatello and its future coming up. Hey, Dakota, how are you?
Good. How are you, Neil?
Good. Doing well. Congrats, by the way, on your appointment.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You bet. Have we ever met in person?
I don't think we have.
Okay.
No.
I don't think so either, but I know we have a lot of common friends, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, in fact, you know Steve Brown, I'm sure.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
We're good friends.
Yeah. I just did a big road trip with Steve up to Alaska and then drove back.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that was. Have you ever been to Alaska?
I've never been, no.
Oh, it is a drive. It is a long drive.
Yeah, I saw your guys' pictures, though. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. That's what made it bearable, really, was the scenery. So, yeah. Anyway, okay, well, I thought we could just, I don't have anything specific in mind. I'll obviously ask you about some of the challenges that Pocatello's facing and your thoughts moving forward. I know I did see your post kind of addressing some of the false rumors and impressions about you, and I'll give you a chance to kind of go through that too if you want.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'm good with whatever.
Okay, all right. Well, let me get the board ready. We'll be on here let's see, we're in the news right now. There's about 2-3 minutes, something like that, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, stand by.
Driver's license and motor vehicles offices, adult probation, and the D7 treatment center. They will be closed until the project is done, which is expected to be Sunday. Business should resume as normal on Monday. For more of your local headlines, visit our website, localnews8.com. You can also download our Local News 8 mobile app to be in the know wherever you go. In the Local News 8 newsroom, I'm Kaylee Galaviz. Your first alert weather is next.
From Local News 8, I'm meteorologist Michael Coates. Fairly comfortable conditions for our Tuesday with high temperatures in the upper 70s, low 80s. We have a low risk of thunderstorms, looking at mostly dry and sunny conditions today. Tomorrow, highs in the mid 80s. We're expecting to see highs reaching for the low to mid 90s as we get into Thursday.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. Consumer spending dropped last month after a sharp increase in April. Says a report just out from the Commerce Department. The decline was partly driven by fewer car purchases. In early trading on Wall Street, the major indexes have been lower. Back in Washington, after an early exit from the G7 summit in Canada, President Trump saying he's aiming for a permanent end to the fighting. Warnings from the president and Israel have led to a mass exodus from Iran's capital. The Trump Organization has announced the release of a mobile phone and phone plan run by the president's two adult sons. ABC's Jay O'Brien.
Because of the president's direct influence over telecommunications policies, the announcement prompting ethics concerns. Just the latest in a string of other ventures, including a flurry of recent Trump Organization real estate deals in the Middle East and an expanding Trump family cryptocurrency empire.
Number of deaths from weekend flooding in West Virginia, 7, says the governor. This is ABC News.
On the next Markley Van Camp and Robbins show, Scott Robbins branded bathwater for sale.
Who wants it? I got it.
Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins, weekdays 1 to 4 on News Talk 107.9.
If going to the dentist is one of your biggest fears, you're not alone. I'm Dr. Phil Harper, a dentist at Comfort Care Dental who treats patients throughout Southeast Idaho and surrounding areas who have a lot of fear about going to the dentist. I understand your fear. Most of my patients haven't been to the dentist in 5 to 30 years. I just give them a small pill to sedate them, and when they are relaxed and comfortable, we correct years of embarrassing and painful issues with their teeth, most of the time in just one appointment. We never lecture them or put anyone down because I truly believe everything is fixable in dentistry. It doesn't matter what you start with. You wouldn't think about having your tonsils or appendix taken out without being sedated, so why would complex dental treatment be any different? It's time now to end your embarrassment, as well as your fears with sedation dentistry.
Dental work is like a dream when you snooze through it. Experience the Comfort Care difference for yourself. Comfort Care Dental in Rexburg, Idaho Falls, Pocatello, and online at mycomfortcaredental.com.
At Bybee's Wheel Alignment, precision is key, and your ride's their pride. At Bybee's, they do more than just alignments. They specialize in steering, suspension, brakes, tires, and AC services. Visit their newly renovated facility and experience top-notch care for your vehicle. From alignments to AC, drive confidently knowing Bybee's has you covered. They've been your best alignment shop for 100 years. Located at 251 A Street, Idaho Falls, where your best alignment awaits. Bybee's Wheel Alignment, steering you right for a century.
Warmer temps and increased sun exposure make protecting your skin more important than ever. If you have a dark spot or changing moles, schedule your free skin cancer screening today. Mohs surgery is the most effective treatment for skin cancer. Dr. Dan Marshall is fellowship trained and certified in Mohs surgery, permanently eliminating skin cancer with Mohs surgical treatment. Visit Alpine Dermatology at the Rexburg, Idaho Falls, Driggs, and Arco locations to schedule your free skin care screening exam. Visit alpinedermclinic.com. That's alpinedermclinic.com.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton here. Join us weekdays 10 to 1 only on News Talk 107.9. Stimulating talk for East Idaho.
It's 8:40 now on News Talk 107.9 on a Tuesday. And Julie Mason is out this week. Actually, she'll be back on Friday. But right now, excuse me, we're going to shift gears and talk with Dakota Bates, recently appointed by Mayor Brian Bladd, and I believe unanimously approved by the City Council. Dakota, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Neal. Thank you for having me on today.
Well, it's good to have you on. I've been kind of following what's happened in Pocatello. I lived there for years and have tons of friends there. And I wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience. And for those who are listening in Pocatello who may not know you, get to know you a little bit better. So I guess tell us, you've been appointed. Give us a little background as to who you are.
Yeah. One of the Facebook comments I saw when I was appointed, somebody said, I have no idea who this guy is. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I'm very much just an average dad in our community. I got involved recently in politics because last November, the school district was looking at closing my kid's school. And I kind of organized and was part of a neighborhood group that was trying to work with the school district to find another solution. And unfortunately, it didn't go our way. They closed our school. But I had the opportunity to talk with a lot of people in the community throughout that process. And so many people that I talked to, regardless of background, shared the same thing, that they had concerns about local government. They didn't trust local government to do the right thing. That included the school board, it included city leadership, and it included our county. And as you hear that enough times, it does start to have an effect on you. And I really felt this desire, more than anything, to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. I didn't want to just complain, because I've done that in the past. You just complain, but you don't actually provide anything to move the city forward. And this opportunity to be on the city council just kind of came up around the same time that we were about to be done working with the school board. And I applied really with no, I can honestly say I did not think I would be appointed to the city council. When I looked at the other final applicants, they all serve on boards, they're part of service organizations. They really are involved in our community. So I was as shocked as anybody when Mayor Blad appointed me, or put my name forward. But I appreciate that Mayor Blad recognized that I think Pocatello more than anything needs some fresh perspectives. I think I represent the majority of Pocatello. Most of us are just regular people trying to provide for our families. We don't have time to be involved in all of these community events. I'm grateful that we have people that do that. But yeah, I'm very much just a regular person, and I'm trying to bring that perspective to the city council.
So, Dakota, let's dive in here on some of these issues. And of course, there are always ongoing issues like housing and taxation and clean water and infrastructure and all of that. Right now, I think the elephant in the room for the Gate City is police accountability. And in the wake of the shooting of Victor Perez a couple of months ago, I don't remember the exact date that happened. And you may not be able to comment now that you're on the council and, you know, the city, there could be litigation involved. And I fully respect if you're not able to comment specifically on that. But maybe generically, what would you tell the residents of Pocatello that want to ensure the police department in the Gate City is doing everything they can to de-escalate situations before they start firing their weapons?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing that I would like to say, and you're right, Neal, I can't comment. There is pending litigation against the city. I can't really comment on the specific situation and what happened. What I can say, and what I do want to say, is I have the deepest sympathy for Wanda, Victor's mom, and Louise, his grandfather, who cared for him. It is heartbreaking to imagine what that family has been through, and to have it happen on such a, it was a tragedy regardless, but then to have a public controversy about it, I just can't imagine what it's like to navigate your grief as a family with all of it being so public. And in my professional life, I work with families of special needs children every day. And I understand personally the amount of time and effort that goes into caring for a special needs child. It really becomes your life. And to have that taken away, to have that gone, it's heartbreaking for Wanda and Louise to imagine what they're going through. As far as the police department goes, I am excited and glad to see that in our budget meetings, the police department is making some upgrades to their non-lethal options. I think there's always a place to have non-lethal options. We're going to be, in our budget, we're looking at upgrading our tasers to some more effective tasers that can reach from, right now the tasers we use, they have an effective range at the most of about 10 feet. And the new tasers we're going to be using have an effective range of about 40 feet. And the barbs on them can penetrate clothing better. So I think the police department, if you think they're not aware of the challenges ahead of them, they're very aware. They're trying to do what's right. I've only been in a week, so I really can't say, what needs to be done as far as training, what needs to be done to make sure that we handle these situations better in the future. But one thing I would want to point out, I personally was a little disappointed with some of the characterizations of the Pocatello Police Department by some of the people in our community. To act like this event with Victor Perez is a common occurrence with the Pocatello Police Department.
Yeah.
It's not true, and I feel like it's disingenuous, and it's not fair to the 60 plus uniformed officers we have that every single day try to fulfill their job as best they can. They're put in situations that the majority of us can't even imagine how we would react if we had to do that job. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just go ahead and wrap up your thought. I did want to ask you about a couple of other.
Yeah, I just, the police department, every single uniformed officer, whether they like it or not, they are the front lines and they are PR for our city. And that is part of their job. Every interaction they have with a citizen reflects on our city and the department as a whole. And so I know that that's top of mind for our officers. It's top of mind for Chief Shy.
Yeah.
But I want the community, I'm not excusing anything, but we should recognize that this is not everyday happenstance in our community.
We're talking with Dakota Bates, brand new city council member in Pocatello. Dakota, let's talk about taxation in Pocatello. I know there's always grumbles by probably every resident or residents in every city about the level of taxation. I understand that Pocatello's tax rate is a little higher than average. It's not the highest in the state. What is philosophically, how do you approach taxation by specifically a city now that you're sitting on the council? And what would you like to do to address those concerns in Pocatello?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. And it's been very top of mind for me. I was appointed and sworn in on a Thursday night. And then essentially my first meeting was on a Tuesday where we were approving and debating our budget, the biggest and most important thing that the city council does all year. You're right. Property taxes, we're not the highest in the state, but we're certainly not the lowest. And when you compare us to our peer cities, we're pretty high. I think, number one, you can call me old fashioned, but we should balance our budget. Right now, this year, if we take foregone, which it's sounding like we're going to take foregone taxes, that's about $350,000. But we're still left with a deficit of around $800,000. There's a lot of things driving that. Our health insurance went up 9%, about $1 million. But that's our job as leadership, right? Is to find ways to make sure that we're balancing our budget. Everybody at home has to make cuts. I think the city has to make cuts too. And Mayor Blad, I think, made a good faith effort with his budget to trim as much as he felt was appropriate. But philosophically, I do not believe in a government running a deficit in a budget. We should find a way to balance it and not use excess reserves to do so. I don't believe reserve funds should be covering everyday operations of the city. If we can't cover our operations through our budget, then we need to make some cuts, and we need to find places to save money.
Well, Dakota, would you characterize yourself as a conservative, Dakota? I mean, I've heard things, I've heard rumors, but would you consider yourself at least fiscally a conservative?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a proud member of the Republican Party, whatever that means anymore. But I am a conservative, and I think that shines through in how I approach the budget. We definitely should be conservative in our approach to how we shouldn't be balancing our budget based on projections with interest income. We need to make sure that we don't have a structural deficit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think and this is where the flavor of conservatism plays in, right? There's some in our community that they want us to provide property tax relief by cutting the budget significantly. which means ultimately we're going to have to cut services. I don't think that's a palatable option for most people in Pocatello. And I would like those people that really are always pushing us to cut, to at least provide us some solutions. If you want us to cut, okay, what do you want us to cut? Do you want us to close the zoo? Do you want us to close the pool? Because those are the discussions we would have to have. If you want us to cut, I'm fine, but let us know that. In my mind, the only way that we're going to provide real lasting property tax relief in Pocatello is we have to grow our tax base. We have to find ways to bring diversified industry, diversified employers into Pocatello. And we can do it. It's not going to happen overnight, but as we grow, that grows the tax base, and that's going to lower property taxes for everybody. And we're not going to get there by just cutting services down to the bone. But we have a lot of advantages in Pocatello, and we have lots of opportunities to collaborate. Idaho State University is Pocatello's biggest asset. And we need to, we already, I think Mayor Blatt collaborates well with ISU, but we need to find every opportunity we can to leverage everything that ISU offers, because it's a growing university, and President Wagner is doing an excellent job there. I really think it's a school that's trending upwards. And so we need to leverage that as we're trying to bring employers into town.
All right, we're actually out of time. Dakota Bates, City Council member in Pocatello, brand new. We appreciate you taking some time with us, and we wish you the best of luck in your tenure on the council.
Thank you so much, Neal.
All right, it's 8:54 on News Talk 107.9.
Live, local, stimulating talk for East Idaho.
Thank you, Dakota.
Yeah, thanks, Neal. I appreciate it.
You bet. We'll talk to you again. So,
all right.
Bye. It's 8:58 on News Talk 107.9. We have a big hour coming up, a double flash poll hour. We're going to ask you about this. It's not a new tactic. This has been around for a few years, where wacko protesters get in front of a moving car. And now you have some governors, DeSantis specifically, saying, you know what, in Florida, if you feel threatened, you can run over the protester. You good with that? Also, what level of involvement should the United States have in any conflict between Israel and Iran? I just want to hear your take, because I think once in a while we have these issues that split conservatives. This is one of them. And we'll do both of those coming up. A busy 9 o'clock hour just ahead on News Talk 107.9. Good morning. It's 9:07. Hour 2 underway here on this beautiful, sunny Tuesday morning in June. And I had to travel a bit today, and looking forward to seeing, not sitting in an office for hours today or a radio studio. No, I'll be back tomorrow. Not traveling far, just a quick trip to Utah. But I'm looking outside in our beautiful new studios. Many of you were able to see this past Friday, and we received a lot of compliments on that. By the way, we're still sort of basking in the glow of the wonderful response we had to our open house on Friday. So many people coming through and enjoying a few minutes with us, and we enjoyed it every bit as much as they did, probably even more so. And so here we are coming to you from they're not brand new studios, but they are newly renovated, and we're happy to do this. And we're happy that we're here after 5 years of broadcasting, launching in June of 2020. And here we are today. And with that, we dive into what's happening. We are going to have 2 flash polls this hour. That's kind of unusual. A lot of times we have a flash poll, maybe two on a heavy week, maybe 3 times. We're having 2 in the same hour. And we'll do that momentarily. One is on this, well, now it's not that safe to be a protester that jumps in front of moving cars. And I just want to hear from our audience, because I believe that I have an audience of decent people that don't want to see people get run over. We just generally wish the best for people. And in my mind, it's because I don't want to see people run over that I think all the protesters should have the fear of getting run over. You might think that makes no sense, but if you'll think through it, it makes perfect sense. Mike Lee is facing a bit of a backlash, which I think this is the kind of backlash you want. This is the backlash that makes you a folk hero. This is the backlash that solidifies your people. A day after Minnesota Democrat State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband were shot and killed in their home on June 14th. Okay, so keep in mind, this news piece is designed to make Mike Lee look bad, but I'll read it to you nonetheless. It's USA Today. Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee baselessly suggested their assassination was connected to the political left. This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way. He wrote on his personal X account with an image of suspect Vance Bolter. In a follow-up tweet, he wrote, "Nightmare on Wall Street," which he mispronounced. He pronounced it waltz, like the dance, and there is no T in Tim Wall's last name. Minnesota Democrat Senator Tina Smith, a friend of Hortman, then confronted Lee at the Capitol. I, approached him from a position of respect and wanting him to understand what I thought, and he didn't have that much to say. What he needs to do is he needs to apologize, Smith told CNN after their exchange on June 16th. To indicate that somehow this was some sort of a Marxist leftist attack that causes violence is completely false. He's spreading that misinformation, and he should correct that. As my mother used to say, words have consequences, and his words have a ton of consequences, and he should own that. Bolter's friends have described him as a devout Christian who's attended President Trump's campaign rallies. According to AP, he was registered to vote as a Republican in 2004 while residing in Oklahoma. Lee, who refused to answer reporters' questions about his controversial posts or his conversation with Smith, drew rebuke from across the aisle. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer wrote on X that it was sickening to see Lee use the assassination to take cheap political shots, risk escalating a dangerous moment, and fan the flames of division with lies. Former Republican National Committee Chair Michael Steele wrote on X to Lee, "Grow the hell up." Okay, well, all right. Whatever. Here's my point in all of this. I still don't know the political leanings and links and affiliations of Bolter. I see claims and evidence coming from both directions here. I don't really care. The guy was just deranged. He was out. But when I look at Mike Lee, I think the learning moment in all of this is not really about Mike Lee. It's about how quick the American Democrat is to step up and protect the reputation of Marxism. That, to me, is sort of saying the quiet part out loud. That's revealing who you are. And if someone said, if someone out there said, I don't think that people with toe fungus should be allowed to go to Taco Bell, and I said, hey, that's right. I mean, I don't care. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Okay. It's one of those moments where you reveal who you are if you're rushing to protect the reputation of Marxists. Because that is what is driving the bus of the American left right now is Marxism. Now, it may not be capital M Marxism, but it might be. I'm not going to count that out. And so when I look at this, and we do see overwhelming amounts of political violence, and the vast majority of it comes from the left. It just does. Look at the summers of hell that we've had the last few years, whether it's in Seattle this year, or at least this last month. We've seen a lot of it in Los Angeles. We've seen it in Chicago. We've seen it in Minneapolis for sure. That violence and damage and vandalism and all of it largely has come from the left. So Mike Lee's general point is well taken. And he's not wrong that this is the environment in which we see this. Now, there was a moment where you had Senator Jeff Merkley. He was on CNN, and the host on CNN, a guy that I see all the time, I still have no idea what his name is. Do you ever do that? Do you ever watch, like, the TV will be on, and you'll see, oh, yeah, that's the anchor for CNN. You have no idea who the guy's name is. That's this guy. So I wish I could tell you the name, but he is the generic news anchor face. In fact, if I went to ChatGPT and Midjourney or one of those AI image generators, and I said, create a generic TV news anchor male with dark hair, it would be this guy. Anyway, so he puts, I mean, it wasn't even a softball question. It was a T-ball question. He said, hey, Senator Merkley, I'm going to set this ball on the top of this tee so you can totally knock it out of the park. Here's how that went.
Representative, Democratic leader of the state legislature in Minnesota killed over the weekend, a state senator shot. How would you describe the current political atmosphere in this country this morning?
I feel like Trump has really popped the lid off the rhetoric and the sense of hate and violence and promoted this type of an environment. It's profoundly disturbing.
Okay, the third word out of his mouth literally was Trump. His fourth word. I feel like Trump. It's instant Trump. Instantly. Anything bad happening in the world? Trump. Cancer rates go up? Trump. Violence goes up, Trump. Temperatures go up, Trump. Car crash in Wenatchee, Trump. Somehow, Trump. It's reflexive. That it's how you watch them. Just watch the left. Watch anybody, any lefty pundit in the media. Any bad thing happens somewhere. I stubbed my toe this morning. Trump. They will find a way to connect every unfortunate situation to Donald Trump. So the T-ball question was set in front of him, and we know it's just sort of like the political environment that we're facing right now. What do you think? Well, I feel like Trump, and they lose it. It's so predictable. It's like boring now. Like I find something novel. In fact, you know what we could do? We could play a game. I could throw out 10 random unfortunate situations. My air fryer broke last week, and then I could solicit people to call in and tell me how that's Trump's fault, because there probably are people out there that would say, Trump, well, his administration relaxed standards on manufacturing and your air fryers. I mean, they could reverse engineer every unfortunate situation to trace it back to something Trump did. But then he makes a really, really unforced error. Senator Jeff Merkley does.
For all of us. We have seen increased threats across the country. You're probably familiar with the pizza threats. We've seen more of that where pizzas or other food is delivered to people's families that they haven't ordered. Just to say, from the right wing, we know who you are. We know where you live. I can tell you all of our families feel a greatly heightened sense. And just let me just say.
Okay, let's stop there. Yeah, that has been happening. Nearly all of these situations, the recipient of the pizza, the intimidation, has been conservatives. So it's leftist swatting, leftist intimidation that has created this pizza delivery controversy. You might find one or two examples where it may have gone the other way, but the vast majority of this, it's the left intimidating the right. So he makes that mistake, and he got fact-checked pretty brutally on social media.
My heart goes out to the families.
Okay, then he does the heart goes out segment because, he just shredded the president of the United States. Then he lied about how conservatives behave, and so he has to put a soft punctuation mark on this and say, my heart goes out to the family. And nobody cares, okay? That's just sort of these obligatory words that you're going to say that nobody cares about. So my point in all of this is kind of a setup, and we'll take a quick break right here. I want you to think about it during the commercial break. Of course, listening to our commercials from our cherished advertisers here at News Talk 107.9. But we're seeing an increase with these protests. One tactic is for the protester to get in front of a moving line of traffic. And now an increasing number of, well, in this case, Governor DeSantis, but I think this is probably true in other places as well. They're saying, you know what, if you're impeding traffic and the driver feels intimidated or feels threatened, they can run you over and they will not be held accountable. So I guess we'll do this kind of open-ended, but I do ask you to be concise with your thoughts and your comments here about running over protesters that get in the way of moving traffic. Now, I was going to add a layer. I don't know how to easily work this in. It feels a little clunky, but one of the added layers I wanted to work in was that they are also responsible for any damage or repairs that happen because they got in front of the cars. Like, you need an alignment after you run over a protester that intimidates you. Send the bill to the protester. If you need, let's say they crack your bumper, or they dent your quarter panel, or they bust up your grill, I think the protester ought to pay for that. So, did you see the video? I think it was in L.A. I think it was a red car, and this woman gets up front. That red car keeps on going, saying, you better get out of the way. And it truly was a thump. You saw the car, boom, boom. And I don't like seeing people get hurt, but I love that video's gone viral because it will make protesters think in the future. So we'll do that flash poll coming up just ahead. 9:21 now on News Talk 107.9. It's 9:26 on News Talk 107.9. Okay, already you should see my text line. It has blown up overwhelmingly. People are saying, yeah, these people stand in front of moving cars. Not necessarily they deserve to get run over, but kinda. Absolutely, you stand in front of a moving vehicle with the appearance of wanting to harm the driver. You take your life in your hands. No charges against the driver in this case. Someone else said, what about self-driving cars or cars with sensors to stop the car with someone in front of you? All that stuff, by the way, can be disabled. That's one of the first things I learn if I get a car that has that functionality. How do I turn it off? Because it's annoying. So you can turn that off. Someone said, not only yes, run them over, but hell yes, I probably wouldn't go fast enough to kill anybody, so I would just push them out of the way as I drove very slow. Unless it was pretty violent, then I'd run them over for sure. Protesters should also be liable for 6 weeks of driver therapy. Yeah, I can see that. Someone said, with the violence associated with these protests/riots and the fear for the driver's well-being, absolutely run them over. You can't stop them from the behavior, but you can dang sure break them of the habit. Someone said, I don't think there's anyone that is hoping to make it to a protest so that they can run over protesters. But if I'm going to be stuck in a mob or going to destroy my car and potentially hurt my family, I am going to get out of there as fast as I can. Try not to hurt anyone, but my family's safety will be the first priority. Someone else said, I hate to say it, but the show is not the same without Julie, which is absolutely true, which is why I have her as my co-host. Let's see. Why doesn't the gas pedal go further? Okay. All right. So there's a sampling of the text that I've gotten so far. And let's just do this. Let's just go ahead and open up the phone lines. The Stones Automotive Group call and text line 208-542-1079. I don't have a yes-no question for you. I just want to hear your hot take, one or two sentences on where are you at when it comes to the legality of running over protesters if they get in your way. We're not talking about seeking them out. We're not talking about deliberately going to these so you can find one to run over. But if you are driving somewhere and they get in front of you and they intimidate you and you're not sure what's going to happen and you feel threatened, then you can keep going. So I'll read some of the texts, but I'd love for you to call in 208-542-1079. Money to recover the expense of the car wash. Okay, there you have it. You have that. And to remove all the slime and grime and grease and stink and grunge off my hood and grill. All right. Let's go to the phones. Caller, what do you say about the legality of running over protesters that get in your way?
Well, I think they should create, kind of like on fighter jets where you get those flares or smoke.
Yeah.
To kind of clear people.
Oh, the tear gas.
Something like that, like a flare.
Yeah.
Flares.
Okay.
Kind of a warning them that you're coming through.
Gotcha.
They're not going to move.
Yeah. Yeah. No, okay. You know what? I like that. Somebody had texted in that earlier and said, as long as you honk first, and maybe that's your warning, I will honk, but you get a honk or two, and then I'm going through. So get out of my way. 208-542-1079. Let's see. Good morning, Neal, on your first flash poll. As much as I know that no one should ever venture onto any road or freeway for any reason, there's never any reason that would justify any human being doing something so thoughtless and downright idiotic as literally putting their life at risk. Do they even care the impact that it has on an innocent driver? I would say no, they don't. Why do they think it's okay to burn everything in sight or break windows of businesses or write graffiti all over? Why are they so hypnotized by hate and feeling righteous? Where are the Democrats yelling this is an insurrection? Why don't they compare what's going on today with January 6th? Good, all good questions. Someone else said, I think that you should mostly peacefully run them over. Nice. That might be the text of the day so far. When it comes to my family's safety, bump goes the F-150. All right. Run them over, leave them there. Let's go to the next caller. Caller, what do you say about protesters getting in the way of moving cars?
Well, there's multiple instances of people getting injured because they've been pulled from their vehicles, they've had shattered glass put on them because they're not just slowing you down, they're stopping you, and then they're literally destroying your car with you in it, and in some cases pulling you out of your car and beating the snot out of you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who wants to risk that happening to them?
Agreed. Agreed. And that references an earlier text that we got. Their family safety is their top priority. So if they felt like there might be a threat, then they're going to go through.
It's self-defense at that point because you either sit there and let them do what they will to you and submit to them, or you handle your business and you get down the road.
Yes.
Because they have the right to protest. They do not have the right to harm other people and their property.
Yeah.
That's not in the Constitution.
No, it definitely is not. Thank you for the call. Like your take there. Someone said, LOL, I agree with some, but some need Jesus. That's probably true. Like I said, the reason I'm for this, and some people would listen and clutch their pearls and think it's being over the top. It's because I want this madness to stop. And I will tell you, if a few protesters are going to be getting run over, they will stop. Okay, they're not. The reason why it keeps happening is because people are quote unquote decent and they stop. They don't want to run over people. And so let's see. That's exactly what someone said. I agree with you, Neal. If the protesters are worried about being run over, they won't block the road. They are then safe from being run over accidentally, and the rest of us can get through. It's a win-win. I think it's similar to Americans shooting someone. You or the life of your family is in danger. It should be valid. I think in Idaho, a jury and judge should dismiss your charges. Or if there would even be charges. I don't even know if there would be, but if there were, yes. Let's see. Someone said run them over. Okay, 208-542-1079. And it's sort of reverse thinking. You know what? This is how conservatives think versus liberals. Liberals think that if you create a gun-free zone, it's going to be safer because it's a gun-free zone. Well, no. When you have zones that have good guys and gals with guns, it's safer. And they can't really process that. If we allow the thump to happen a few times, this phenomenon will stop. Let's go to the next caller. What? Oh, they hung up. Hang on the line for more than about 5 seconds. I promise I'll get to you. Let's go to this caller. Caller, go ahead. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, good morning.
Hi.
I agree with the concept completely. However, there must be a limit. Should you back over them and hit them again, you should be held accountable.
I agree. You just do what you need to get out of there, but not inflict damage. Yep. Exactly.
The other point that nobody's talked about, especially in here, is you ought to be able to brandish a gun if you're carrying one. That may not do any effect on those guys, but they should make that you should be not liable under the brandishing laws and stuff like that if you had a weapon with you.
Okay, if you feel threatened, then yeah. Okay,
exactly.
All right. That might be another discussion, but I don't necessarily disagree with that. 208-542-1079 if you'd like to reach us on the Stones Automotive Group call and text line. Someone said, I believe intentionally blocking travel meets the definition of kidnapping. Oh, that's an interesting thought. I don't know if that's true. Someone else said, I agree with DeSantis. However, I don't know enough about the situation to know why the people blocking traffic aren't being arrested. Are there just so many that they overwhelm police forces? Maybe. In Idaho, the castle domain or doctrine goes into effect if protesters pose a threat to you. The next time there's a protest at the bridge in Idaho Falls, we need to get big old long Trump train to go through there. I would not have been opposed to that. I will also say this, because I did spend, the better part of an hour at the No Kings protest on Saturday. They were very peaceful, rowdy, a little spirited, but there was no effort whatsoever to try and get out in traffic or any kind of physical intimidation at all. And so I want to give praise where it is due. That truly was, I wouldn't even say a mostly peaceful protest. That was an entirely peaceful protest from what I saw. So, okay. All right. Good job. I think, I don't know if we had any dissenting views. Sometimes I sort of hope that we do get, some lib calling in with, a bleeding heart about you can't run people over. We didn't get any of that. So, all right, we'll take a quick break and come back. It's 9:38 on News Talk 107.9. Yet another flash poll. We will pivot and talk about Israel and Iran and what should America's involvement be coming up on News Talk 107.9. Clayton Homes is ready to help you find your dream home. They're here to help answer all your questions, whether it's floor plans or design features. And you can check out their fully furnished new home models and see all of the options available to create the perfect home. And with many floor plans to choose from, Clayton Homes is certain they can help you find the home that you've been looking for. And right now, you can save up to $5,000 instantly on your home purchase at Clayton Homes Sign and Save event. You can save up to $2,500 on a single-section home or $5,000 on a multi-section home because Clayton Homes is changing the way that homes are built, making them affordable to buy and cost less to live in. And just in time for summer, of course, you can get a home equipped with energy-smart features for year-round comfort and a lifetime of savings because every Clayton-built home uses products from the world's most trusted brands. Now, terms and conditions for the Sign and Save sales event can be found at manufacturedhomeoffers.com. Available only at participating Clayton Homes family of brands retailers through August 31st. The amount of savings may be limited. Ask for details. May not be available with certain financing, and lender restrictions apply. Visit the local Clayton Homes near you or browse their limited time deals at manufacturedhomeoffers.com to learn more. Okay, so wanted to ask you, and I apologize, we are shifting topics today, but this is a big one. As Donald Trump the president put on his social media last night, calling on the residents of Tehran to evacuate immediately. It appears that perhaps the time for negotiation and diplomacy is over. Trump gave them 60 days, and day 61 came. They still did not negotiate. They kept moving the goalposts. They kept dodging. And Trump doesn't play ball the way others play ball. He negotiates hard, and when they play games with him, he doesn't keep playing. And so cutesy time is over, to quote Dan Bongino, and it looks like that has come to an end. Now, the question is, it's created a bit of a rift in the American political system. Of course, the left hates it because they hate everything Trump does. But I think even among conservatives, you have Thomas Massie, and I think even Marjorie Taylor Greene. They are saying we shouldn't be involved at all in this. Okay, we need to fight our own battles. We don't need to be funding other wars. We don't need to be involved this way. So they are opposite of the president's position. Then you have other lawmakers that really are all in on this. Lindsey Graham says, let's get the job done and let's go all in. I think those were his exact words. Let's go all in. So anytime I get a topic that has a diversity of thought within conservative or at least within Republican circles, that's when I like hearing from you. So in the same vein, I'm just going to do an open-ended question for all of you. What should our involvement be when it comes to stopping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon? Because make no mistake, Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. The world cannot allow Iran to have nuclear weaponry. What should America's position be on this? The Stones Automotive Group call and text line 208-542-1079. And I await your insight and your answers here on this Tuesday edition of the Neal Larson Show. I'd love to know, where are you at on this Thomas Massie, Lindsey Graham spectrum? Are you all in? Let's finish this job. Let's protect America's interests overseas and our assets in that part of the world. Or are you Thomas Massie, who's more of an isolationist that basically is saying, we just need to take care of everything at home. The world can burn, but we need to take care of ourselves. So 208-542-1079. That's the Stones Automotive Group call and text line. Let's see. And some are saying, we have gotten texts earlier this morning, I just had to find it here, that we should have limited involvement. That, yes, but this is really Israel's war to fight. They're the ones that are the direct target of Iran's threats. Someone else said, continue as strong supporters of Israel. Stay away from active engagement similar to the Israel-Hamas war. Okay, fair enough. I think it's a measured approach to this. It's fascinating to watch. And I mentioned this earlier this morning. And I guess I'm a little confused as to why this happens. Not entirely, but sometimes libertarians, the most right-leaning of the right wing of the party, actually agree with the far left on more issues than you would imagine. And sometimes, the reason why is they arrive at the same destination on different premises, and we'll get to that. But let's go to the phones. Caller, your thoughts on American involvement in this Israel-Iran conflict?
Limited involvement with the naval blockade.
Okay, limited involvement with the naval blockade. Okay, I got you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the call. And I think that's happening. I was watching some of the maps this morning, and we have a lot of assets that are headed straight to that region. How many comments have you had about U.S. attacking Iran is due to BRICS? Maybe expound on that. If you texted that in, if you were the one, add to that, because I'd like more context, what your thoughts are. I think we should be involved, but very limited. I think there's a chance to fix the problem long-term by regime change versus negotiating with a nation that their number one goal is destroying the U.S. and Israel, and they mean it. Yes. So here's what I'd like. I think there's sort of this pressure. It's kind of like the false choice narrative. I think it's a one or the other premise. I think the primary goal is to destroy any nuclear capability with Iran. There might be a beneficial downstream side effect of that, which would be getting rid of their regime. This isn't just Israel's war. If Israel wasn't there, it would still be in America's best interest to prevent Iran from having nuclear weapons. And they're saying go all in. A threat to the U.S. is a threat to our allies. If the U.S. responds, it should be with all NATO countries and signers of the Abraham Accord. That's an arguable and defensive position. Now, I will say to that, we may not have time to get buy-in and with that requirement. So I appreciate the principle behind it, but that may not be feasible to get every single signing country on board. I like the good cop, bad cop. We warn, and Israel follows up. Someone said this is probably the best time to get a new leader in Iran and back Israel 100%, but no boots on the ground. Do not let them get back to false promises. See, I'd appreciate that. Someone else said, send in Maverick. Yeah. You know what? Speaking of Tom Cruise, I saw Mission Impossible last night. I may take the very last segment and give you my really fast movie review. But, yeah, I like that. It's like a single strike thing. From what I understand, apparently Iran has a very deep underground nuclear facility, and it's going to take bomb after bomb after bomb in the same place to drill down and get to it. So that is one consideration that I think people are looking at. All right, 9:52. You know what? This is kind of what I thought. We didn't get anybody who was like a far-right libertarian isolationist wacko here. But I like this. All right, that's our double flash poll hour there. Thank you for your indulgence in all of that. It is 9:53. I'll come back and I'll wrap up the hour after this. It is 9:58 on News Talk 107.9. Less than a minute left, but I can do this in a minute. I went with my son, one of my sons, and my son-in-law, saw Mission Impossible last night. I know it's been out for a couple of weeks. Y'all have probably seen it, and you're like, oh, I've already seen it 3 times. Go see it. It's good. I'd give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Like, it was worth watching. I think Tom Cruise is great in the Mission Impossible series. It didn't disappoint. I don't know if it was the best Mission Impossible ever, but it was pretty good. So, all right, that's going to do it. Have a wonderful Tuesday. I will be back tomorrow, and Clay and Buck are up next.